much. I want to welcome all of us to this gathering. I am particularly delighted to have our special guest in our midst. He's a very strong supporter of this government, and some of us see him as an Abayan in the diaspora. He has intervened on many issues concerning our state since 2015 till now. He likes to operate silently, and it's a thing of joy that he was given the opportunity and privilege to speak to us this afternoon. I have also learned so much from him. I would have declined invite to come and speak after him because it's difficult to comment on anything journalism after the speech of an erudite professor of journalism. I want to thank Mr. Speaker and leadership of the 7th Assembly in Abia State for finding time to come and share this moment with us. Permit me to welcome members of the State Executive Council through the Secretary to Government who is here. I have come here today because I see it as a continuation of my effort to touch base with all strata of the society. You are aware that your governor spends a lot of time to talk to Abia people, whether it is through radio programs, which happen quite often, or through town hall meetings. Before the advent of COVID, we used to assemble students, market women, and youth in this room and talk to them on issues of governance and the way forward. Because I wasn't in any particular area to dwell on, I will take liberty to run away from issues around social media because I don't understand it, honestly, sincerely speaking. I have seen a lot of negative comments about my person and our government and our efforts to make things happen. But as a scientist, I want to congratulate and thank all those who criticize this government, because they are indeed, they provide the energy and the verve that drives the wheel of governance. I see them as my catalysts. They make me work harder and do more. The outcome and the result you will see is that our average in Abia, in terms of performance, is certainly above the national average, speaking about what my colleagues are doing everywhere across Nigeria. Especially if you use what I regard as the true index of development, which is bring the amount of money that is available to every state and divide it by the amount of money the state deploys for infrastructure. It will give you a value that will enable you compare one state and the other. So I like it when you talk about us. Even when you post things that are not true, they make me do two things. One, to check whether what you are saying is true. If it is true, I'll go and fix it. But if it is not true, I'll just laugh over it. But there are ones that are very, very malicious, and those ones, I was ignoring them until somebody wrote that I went to India to take oath in 2015. I allowed that lie to continue for 4 years. The lie resurfaced by the 5th year, and I decided to ask the liar to show evidence. The rest is history. And just now, as I was sitting beside Femi, One Ihedi Bombuku has posted that Femi Adesina refused to collect kola nut from my hand. And all of you have become victims of the things, the monster you created. I know who sent Femi, I know who sent Buku to write that, and I will not waste your time talking about it. But I want to achieve something in this meeting today. What I want to achieve is what you have not heard before. And that which you have not heard before is why I do the things I do and why I do them the way I do them. You see, in 2015 when we came here, we took a stock of what we felt was the way forward for Ndabia. And my promise to Ndabia was that I was going to find a way to create a better life for our people. So I never promised anybody that I was going to do everything. And that is why I don't allow anybody who works for me or who is working for me to claim what I have not done. It is not necessary. I will do XYZ roads, but somebody else would also do A, B, C, D. So the things I'm unable to do, by the close of time in 2023, I'll be proud to look back and say, oh yes, I met Abia here and this is where I have brought Abia. There will be something for the next governor to do also. So it doesn't serve me any good purpose if you want to claim that I have done everything. That is not what I promised anybody. But I said that I was going to find a way to create a better life for our people. And we held several conversations around how do we create a better life for Ndabia. It was in a quest to answer these questions that we came up with our 5 pillars of development. I have gone to these details so that all of you here will find a platform based on which you can mirror our performance and know our agenda and monitor where we are going to know whether we are on track or not. As many as we are in this room, we have as many governors. So if you don't like the way I approach the problem, just look at the destination, look at where I'm going, and reserve the rest till when you will become a governor. Because some of you will become governors tomorrow. I must not operate the way you want me to operate, just like I will not expect you to do exactly what I want you to do too. So in creating better life for Ndabia, we decided to run on 5 pillars. And how did we arrive at pillars? You know that Abia people are good traders. So I don't need anybody to remind me that our people are good in trade and commerce. So we made trade and commerce one of the pillars. You also know that our people are very good in what we can do with our hands. Today, Abia State is the SME capital of Nigeria. World Bank has reported that we have about 250,000 artisans doing shoes and garments. And we know as Ndabia that each person doing shoe or tailoring in Aba or Umuahia has at least 4 people working for him. That is simply about 1 million people. So you can't ignore the vocation of about 1 million people out of your population in a state like Abia. Therefore, small and medium scale enterprises, small scale manufacturing became our second pillar. The third pillar for us is agriculture. Why agriculture? Agriculture because agriculture provides jobs like no other vocation today. We also know that agriculture is capable of providing raw materials for manufacturing or for industries. Therefore, if you are serious to tweak or change the economic fortune of your people, speaking to job creation, speaking to raw materials for manufacturing, you must find a way to mainstream agriculture. The other one is education. For us, education is important Because whether you want to speak to agriculture, you want to speak issues around trade and commerce or small-scale manufacturing, the individual has to have capacity. So education is important, and our kind of education, the kind of education we've been promoting, and the kind of education we'll keep promoting is technical education. We want to produce middle cadre manpower that can support manufacturing and fabrication of machines, fabrication of tools and equipment going forward. Of course, you know that we have some little bit of oil and gas in Okwa area of our state. Therefore, oil and gas completes the 5 pillars on which we enunciated our pillars for development. But the things you see every day in government are the enablers, those things that will catalyze and propel trade and commerce, agriculture, small-scale manufacturing, oil and gas businesses, and education. And some of these enablers, first among them is road infrastructure. So for us, our in Abia since 2015 is to do roads that will link our economic nodes, roads that will link to our markets, roads that will lead to manufacturing centers, roads that will lead to agricultural centers, roads that will necessarily enable the movement of goods, personnel from one location to the other. And it is for this reason that we resumed work in 2015 on 3 very important and strategic roads in Aba. Those are the roads that lead into Aba from Akwa Ibom and Cross River flank. And you will ask, why are we interested in opening up the link between Abia and Akwa Ibom and other states? About 60% of our clients, those who come to do business in Abia State, come from neighboring states. By the way, you must know that Abia is at the confluence of the states in the southeast and south. Abia is 30 minutes away from Rivers, 30 minutes away from Akwa Ibom, about 30 minutes, 2 hours from Enugu State, and about 45 minutes from Imo State. So whatever thing that happens around these states has a way of rubbing off on Abia. So the catchment business population in Abia State derives impetus and strength from the traffic that streams in from these states. Therefore, it is existential for us that we open up the link roads between these neighboring states into Abia State. And that is why we have spent so much time and resources trying to make sure that our roads are good enough to lead to our markets, to our manufacturing centers, and to agricultural centers across the state. I want to spend just a few seconds to speak to you about our paradigm and philosophy in doing roads. We decided to do roads using rigid pavement, which tells that you will do between 9 and 12-inch concrete with BRC or rod in between, and then use asphalt as wearing course. We have also made it a policy that all our city roads must come with full complement of drainages. This is the new thinking in Abia because we want to do roads that will outlive this particular regime. Because the only way we can top up or add to the infrastructural stock, speaking about roads, is only if we can bequeath roads that will outlive this administration, so that the next governor will not have to bother so much about repairing the roads we have done. He can get on to other roads. And I'm proud and happy to say to you today that some of the roads that we commissioned within the first 100 days of this administration include Umuola Road in Aba, Ukebu Road in Aba, and Ehere Road in Aba, Kamalu Road in Aba. If you go to those 4 roads that I have mentioned, including Omini Drive, you will see that none of those roads, as I speak today, has one single pothole. It gives that this is the narrative, because that is what I set out to achieve. So that these roads will outlive this administration and be handy for the next administration to count on, so that they can get on to next or other roads. Apart from roads, this administration has focused on health also as an enabler. Because if you want to create a better life and you want to attract foreign direct investments or even local investments, you must begin to think like an investor yourself. So you imagine that if you have an investor coming into your state, he will have many worries. Assuming your road is good, he will ask himself, if I have a child and the child is sick, will he find hospital that can take care of his health? Therefore, we decided since 2015 to mainstream health care. But the issue of health care in Abia, we are tackling from 3 major prongs. We first of all looked at the entire spectrum of the health care delivery system. On the extreme left, you have the mother and child. And on the extreme right, you have the aged, the weak, and the retired elder statesmen that are now unable to move around freely. So for these 2 major extremes, if you want to increase life expectancy, because our specific target and ambition in the health sector is to make sure that life expectancy for Ndabia is higher than the national average. The national average today is between 46 and 50 years. But in Cuba, the national average life expectancy is about 84 for females and about 80 years for males. It is even higher than life expectancy in America. So how do we move life expectancy in Abia to a point where we can expect Ndabia to, in the minimum, live to 55, 60 years? And if you want to do that, you must look at the vulnerable in the spectrum of healthcare delivery, and that is mother and child, and then the aged. So for mother and child, this government is working on a mother and child specialist hospital at a location that is opposite CPS in Umuahia. I am sure and confident that between now and the next 3 months, that hospital will open to the public. And my assurance is that you will see state-of-the-art equipment to tend to every need of a child, every need of the mother. And at that time also, I want the Commissioner for Health to listen and listen properly. It will be a law or a rule in Abia State for every clinic or maternity or primary health care center to report the death of a child at birth to the desk of the governor. I'll be interested to know why the child died. It is not because I want to punish the birth attendant or the doctor or the midwife, but I want to know because I'm concerned so that we can correct the mistakes and make sure that the next child doesn't die. It is my duty and responsibility to make sure that every child that is coming into Abia through birth is given the opportunity and the privilege to live. So that is the essence and reason of that mother and child hospital. Then for the old people, we have a geriatric outreach that moves from community to community to look at these aged people. What do? They go to meet the old people and look at their routine drugs. Some of them are hypertensive. Some of them are even consuming expired drugs. But they wouldn't know because the younger children have left the villages, gone to Lagos or Abuja or Aba or Umuahia to look for golden fleece, as they used to say. mommy and dad at home may be diabetic or may come down with diabetic sore and nobody to take care. So we send this medical outreach to go from house to house, from community to community. And I was touched when I listened to the testimony of an old man who had a diabetic sore, and he was using an old bandage by himself to tie around that sore, and until he met those people on that outreach. And I want to give many thanks to Dr. Chuck of Ikpeazu, who trained in the United States, came down here to sell the idea that it is important that we take care of these aged people. And to the glory of God today, that sore has healed because they were able to take care of that sore immediately and direct that patient to the nearest primary health care centers. This government inherited almost 900 primary health care centers across Abia State, almost located in every ward. And the duty of the government since 2015 till now is to operationalize these primary health care centers. And this particular activity of government has served us in good stead in our battle against COVID-19. And I want to inform our special guest so that those in Abuja will know that Abia State has one of the best mortality records in terms of COVID-19 management in Nigeria as I speak today. But in between these two extremes, speaking still on health, is the young ones, those in the middle age, those around 35, 40. The greatest threat to the life of those include road traffic accident, cardiovascular accident, or the one they call stroke. It is for these people that our government has established an emergency outreach. There is an emergency outreach also propelled and managed by an Abia doctor in the diaspora, whose duty it is to deploy ambulance to rescue somebody that has a problem, whether it is a heart failure or whether it is stroke, you call it, whatever it is that is an emergency. And I want to recommend that Ndabia should please check and take out the telephone numbers that are provided to reach this ambulance service so that they can reach, medical support can come to them whenever they have problems. I know many people that have been saved, many lives that have been rescued as a result of the use and services of the emergency service. Closely tied to the emergency service is the backbone of Abia State health care, and that is the Abia Telehealth. Abia State today is perhaps the only state in Nigeria that has telecare or telehealth backbone. And what did we do? We looked at the number of people that are using telephones in this country today. And we said, can we provide access to medical service at the touch of a button in your phone? And that was why we got Mr. Vice President in 2016 to launch Abia Telehealth. Just close to where we are sitting this afternoon, there is a call center that houses 15 medical doctors that work 24/7 round the clock. Their duty is to take calls from the public on all kinds of health issues. You have a choice to choose whether to speak in English or you interact with them in vernacular. Their duty is to respond to you and take your questions. This has also come very handy at a time like this when we were hit hard by COVID. People were looking for a way to contact their medical doctors, and many medical doctors were on the run. Many medical doctors didn't want to touch any patient or didn't want to see any patient. But our people deployed teledensity advantage to call the doctors in Abia Telecare Center to ask questions about COVID, what to do, what not to do, how to manage themselves, and where to get help. And Abia Telehealth has come to stay. We are presently exploring the opportunity and chances of partnering with Glo. The idea is for Glo to provide free telephones, free lines, and even airtime to support Abia Telehealth Initiative. And I'm proud to say that from 2016 to 2021, this Abia Telehealth was crawling. Now it is standing on its 2 feet, and very soon it will start running. So this is what supports the entire gamut. So whether you are a geriatric patient, or you are mother and child, or you are in the primary health care center at Arochukwu, or in the urban center of Aba or Umuahia, the telephone lines are open 24/7. Whether you are a student preparing for exams, your doctor is not available, your parents are at home, all you need to do is to pick up your phone and call those 15 doctors. One of them will respond and take your questions, and you will get expert advice on what you need to do. Beyond health, another strong enabler that supports the 5 pillars of development in Abia State is education. It is difficult for us to speak to what we have done in education without reminding us that this government has done at least 500 classroom blocks between 2015 and now. This government has built 4 model schools across Abia State. And these model schools are supposed to be our examples of what an ideal school should be. In these model schools, you will find a laboratory powered by solar, a digital library powered by solar, beautiful classrooms, residence for teachers, just because we want to create an academic environment where teacher and students will cohabitate together, so that even after hours, the lecturers and the teachers can also oversee how the students read and how they play. The advent of day schools across our state is part of what has caused the problem of eroding standards in our schools. I remember in those days, because I am a beneficiary of missionary schools. In those days, the missionary or the pastor who lives in the parsonage, and the parsonage is very close to the school premises, oversees what the teachers do every day. At that time, it was difficult and almost impossible for a teacher to stroll into the school premises by 11 a.m. A teacher must be there to take his lesson by 8. And who is the student or pupil that will come into school with his shirt not tucked into his knickers? Discipline was a hallmark of training and education at that time. But today, because our children will have to come in, some even come to class from hotels. So we want to bring back a situation where teacher and students will live in the same environment, and studentship, which is a lifelong activity, will continue even after hours. So apart from that, the most important in the north some time ago. So our response to that kind of scenario in Abia was that we had to retrain our teachers, and we established a continuing education center for our teachers. This continuing education center is powered by a non-governmental organization that is based in Australia, that brought in teachers from Australia, from India, and from across the globe to come and interact with our teachers. You ask yourself, what is it that I wanted to achieve? What I wanted to achieve is simple and straightforward. Our teachers had their morals going down every day. So we needed to expose them to other teachers so that they can know that the teachers in Australia and the teachers in Bangladesh and India were the same kind of people as the teachers in Nigeria. So by the time they finished training the first set of 300 teachers, we had teachers who could strike their chest and say, yes, we are indeed teachers and we are proud to be teachers. Beyond that, we have introduced digital and ICT education, because Abia State is perhaps going to be the first state in Nigeria that will go into digital learning. The equipment for digital learning has been imported and we have it in our space. We have trained the first set of about 500 teachers. Before the end of this week, we will complete the training to make 1,000 teachers that has gone through that kind of training, so that as schools reopen, we will be teaching our children with smart boxes, so that teaching in Nigeria, teaching in Abia in particular, will be the kind of teaching that you see anywhere in the world. After all, we are preparing students that may decide to go overseas to pursue higher degrees. So we must be able to prepare our children to even learn in other climes. And we can only do that if we teach them the way that people elsewhere teach their own children. We have also exposed our teachers to basic and rudimental tenets of classroom management. So as issues evolve, we develop appropriate curriculum and pass it through our education system, through the continuing education system. So we are building capacity in a very strong way to make sure that we firm up and strengthen the kind of education we give. Little wonder that for the past 5 years, Abia State has taken first position in West African Examination Council examinations in Nigeria. Some people who did not believe the narrative said it was a fluke. But my brother, if somebody beats you in class 5 times, the only thing you can do is to bow and respect that individual. I want to doff my cap for our children, our students, and indeed pay special tributes to the teachers that have produced beaters in Nigeria of today. We have also done quite a lot in tertiary education. Abia State University has moved from number 97 on the list of Nigerian universities to number 26 as at 2020. And the second best state school in Nigeria. Abia State is number 1 in alphabetical order in Nigeria, and we are pushing ABSU and our children to take and remain as number 1 as long as God permits. So beyond education, I want to speak briefly about our interventions in areas of small and medium scale enterprises. And after that, I will give you the opportunity to ask questions, because as a teacher, I don't like to teach for more than 45 minutes, because if I so do, I will lose the attention of my audience. But just give me the next 5 minutes to speak to you about what we have done in promoting small-scale manufacturing in Abia State. In 2015, we did a study, and that study revealed that we had 4 major issues bedeviling the operations of those in the leather subsector. I'm referring to those who do our shoes, our bags, and our belts. And we looked at those 4 and decided to start with marketing. Because if you want me to list the 4, they include issues around power, issues around access to finance, issues around automation and capacity building, and then issues around marketing and market share. So I decided to say to not only our artisans in Abia, but to everybody in this country, that in the words of Ahmadu Bello, if you fail to blow your trumpet, everybody will be blowing your own trumpet for you. So the idiom that says that it is immodest to blow your trumpet, I don't agree with that perception at all. I will blow my trumpet. And what is this, our trumpet in Abia? Our trumpet is that we are the best shoemakers and we are the best dressmakers in Africa. So I decided to market Made in Aba. For me, Made in Aba was not about Aba. It was about respect and regard for the ingenuity of the average Nigerian youth. The Nigerian youth, the average Nigerian child, is a genius. And there are so many things we have done and that has gone unsung. I'll just give you one example on the side. The polytechnic we have at Aba here, Abia State Polytechnic. The students and lecturers of that polytechnic produce an electric bulb that has a lifespan of eternity. This electric bulb does not know anything like the bulb is dead. The sample they brought to me, right in my presence, they struck it on the floor. It broke into 3 parts and they coupled it and plugged it and the bulb came on again. So why is it difficult for us to acknowledge the ingenuity and the hard work of the average Nigerian child? I have been to many offices across the world, especially in this country. In some of those offices, you will notice a greeting card. That is birthday. A 3-year-old child, your son, your daughter, will scribble something with his or her crayon and say, the best daddy ever. The spelling of daddy may be wrong, but you proudly display what your little son or your little daughter has done, because you have respect and regard for the thought and for the effort that this child has made to please his father or her father. It is for this reason that I decided to market Made in Aba. So Made in Aba for me is just a way to regard, to eulogize, and to bring to the fore the ingenuity of the average Nigerian youth. I used Aba because Aba was an existing brand. Everybody knew about Aba. As at the time, people were going about deriding Taiwan as made in Taiwan, Aba was standing strong as a brand. But today, nobody talks about made in Taiwan. So I think it is a mark of sophistication, if I borrow the words and the language of Bright Chimezie, for our people not to see what is good in the things that are original. It is the Nigerians that force our people into stamping to the effort and the sweat of the poor boy who toiled all through in the night to sew a shirt, only to give credence to somebody that is sitting in Japan, made in Japan. And the person in Japan did not do anything. So I decided to say that I will make sure I wear only made in Aba shirt. The shirt I'm wearing today is proudly made in Aba. And there is no shirt better than this shirt I'm wearing in this room. I have been to many places. I have been to many places across the globe wearing made in Aba. I have not gone to anywhere where they say, go away, your shirt or your dress is not good. You see, a population of 200 million people is a huge market. Many Nigerians did not understand why Mr. President hesitated in signing the African Free Trade Treaty. He hesitated because he was asking you and me, what are you people bringing to the platform? Yes, we have 200 million persons. What are you people bringing to the platform? A little country like Ghana, slightly bigger than my state, Abia, is looking for the 200 million persons to buy made in Ghana. As I speak today, the black soap some of us are using was imported from Ghana. I boarded a British Airways aircraft. They sold what we shea butter. We call it ori here, from Ghana. And my grandmother knew the chemistry of saponification, which is a reaction between fatty acid and sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide from the stalk of palm fruit. And then lipid from palm oil. And she produced the black soap with which she raised my mother. But today, not only are we unable to build on what our great-grandmother bequeathed to us, we are now importing from Ghana. So this is my way of saying that if all of us buy made in Aba shirts, made in Aba shoes, only 30 million people with a profit of $1, that is $30 million. Sometime in 2016, God blessed our effort when the Nigerian military agreed to give an order for 50,000 pairs of shoes to Aba people to manufacture. 50,000 pairs of shoes, assuming the profit on one pair was 5,000 naira. That is 250,000 naira, 250 million naira in Aba. If it's 10 naira, it's 100 million naira. Only 50,000, but we are 200 million persons. So, the other problem apart from market share was to find a way to enhance the morale of these boys that are producing these shoes so that they can proudly stamp made in Nigeria, made in Aba, made in Abia. So I took them to Abuja. We had a trade fair in Abuja and we invited the diplomatic corps. Americans came, Chinese came, Japanese came, and they saw. I've taken these people to Egypt, taken them to China. And today, majority of them are proud to say what we produce is proudly made here in Nigeria. So we have done something about their morale. But we still need to do more about their capacity to produce through automation. That this government decided to send the first set of 30 boys and girls to China to go and learn how they manufacture shoes, not using bare hands and fingers to cut leather. Because if you go and see the fingers of my children in Ariaria, those who spend 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years with their fingers have been deformed. They cut it without a hand glove. So we took 30 of them and sent them to China, all expense paid. While in China, I got the best encouragement in my position could ever ask for. There in China, 2 of these young people that had not seen machine, within 2 weeks, took away the jobs of the Chinese. That the factory where they went to learn how to use machines to do shoes, returned them to come and do extra hours. And China, a country of 1.2 billion people. So if an Abia child can go to China, compete with Chinese inside China, and take away their jobs, who says we cannot beat the world here? That is why I am one governor that is not afraid of the Chinese. I know countries that don't like Chinese. I know some people I want the Chinese to bring it on. This is what we are preaching in Enyimba Economic City. Provide a manufacturing platform for every person all over the world to come and manufacture. We want you to come here and manufacture whatever you want to manufacture, so that we can use the tail of our eyes and be watching what you are doing. We are very good in copying things. We will copy that technology. So they have returned from China. And in order to sustain the growth of the technology of shoe manufacturing in Abia, we decided to import a shoe manufacturing line, end to end. That is what gave birth to what is today Enyimba Automatic Shoe Manufacturing Company in ASCO. And I want to give you a gladdening news. Throughout December 2020, while some of us were busy enjoying in our villages, some of those children that went to China, in that factory that we have set up in ASCO, were battling to meet deadline for the production of shoes ordered by Nigerian Railway Corporation. I am happy to say today that those shoes have been manufactured and delivered to Nigerian Railway. I'm also happy to inform this audience that today, Enyimba Automated Shoe Factory is an official contractor and supplier of shoes to the Nigerian police, courtesy of a contract that was signed just last week. I want to seize this opportunity once again to call on our security agencies. There is no point going to order these things elsewhere. The quality of shoes in Aba today has moved up. We have left our yesterday. We are in our today, pointing at tomorrow. The quality of our shoes today is comparable with the quality of shoes manufactured elsewhere in the world. And we are prepared to be part of the shoe manufacturing business across the world. We are not interested in Nigeria alone. We want to capture West Africa. We want to capture Africa. And we want to capture part of the world, because we know we can't capture all the world. We are indeed appealing to those countries who do not want to do business with China. They can come and do business with us, because the same machines that the Chinese use to manufacture their own shoes, which you buy before, is the kind of machine we have. And we have those boys that took away the jobs in China now working in Abia State. So, speaking to the issue of power, because you cannot do much about small-scale manufacturing if you have not done something about power. This government collaborated with the federal government and established the Area Independent Power Plant. This Area Independent Power Plant is the first independent power plant that is functional in our space today. And it is targeted at the shoe and leather manufacturing cluster around Umuehile, Bakassi, in Area. And what we are minded to do is to provide power in such a way that it can be regular, it can be predictable, and it can reduce the cost of production so that our products can compete. We are also interested in enabling those manufacturers to acquire machines that the hitherto wouldn't delve into on account of the fact that probably power supply was irregular. So this is a clarion call for those who are still using generators around the area to desist, because the last inferno that gulfed part of our area came as a result of those generators. You have an option, but the ambition of this government is not to provide just two options, EEDC and gas turbine, as provided by the agency in charge of rural electrification of the federal government. No, we are heading for the third option. And the third option is geometric. And I want to thank the federal government for providing support that has enabled funding agencies, including Afrexim Bank, to bridge the gap in funding that is now giving us hope to say that certainly, before the end of this year, Abia State will perhaps be the only state in Nigeria with uninterrupted and uninterruptible power in this country, courtesy of geometric power. Now, so these are some of the things we have done to promote small and medium scale enterprises. Permit me to punctuate at this point by breaking the news to us here that for those who are still believing that things are not working, we are speaking not to the naysayers, we are speaking to serious-minded Nigerians. Between the last quarter of that pandemic 2020 and today, February the 14th, 2021, Abia is blessed with the presence of Domino's, Kilimanjaro, Chicken Republic, Cold Stone, Slot Telephone, all major vendors of all kinds of things that have international repute has come to bet in Abia. Are they coming because I am their father-in-law? They are coming because return on investment in this place is good. I rest my case.